'Cause I'm yours to keep if you want to.
Beautiful. We're rolling. Ladies and gentlemen, the one and only Asher Roth.
Hey.
Fresh off the plane?
Not so much. I got here on Thursday
Okay.
night mainly to watch the 49ers beat the Rams.
Dude, I
Yeah.
only saw the highlights of that on the plane.
Yep.
And I saw the end of the Chargers
Raiders.
game. Holy shit.
Yeah.
That was insane.
The NFL has master television.
Yeah, dude. I don't know how they did that. I don't know
Yeah.
how they did the fourth quarter thing
They
with
gotta
that,
figure it out.
but like down, what were they down? Like 15, I think. Like, what was it? Like 5 consecutive
Fourth down.
like fourth and long, and like
Yeah.
like 5 miracle ass catches.
And they just the bummer of the whole thing is that I think a lot of us were rooting for that tie, and now Justin Herbert, LA, the Chargers, secretly the LA team in my opinion, doesn't go to the playoffs. So we get Pittsburgh Steelers and Big Ben and one last hurrah, and Derek Carr and the Raiders. So
I haven't been following NFL at all, and like to tune
Yeah.
in like last night on the plane, I was like,
yeah, it's tough for me. I mean, like, obviously everything that's gone down with the NFL and just, ethics, obviously being a 49ers fan, watching the Kaepernick stuff unfold, like, and what that turned into and what it became.
yeah.
So I get how a lot of people that, even some of the guys that I was speaking to, again, Friday, I got to see my buddy Rufio Jaffet, Chuck English, some of these guys that are just Truth Studio staples, saw some of them. And we talked about the NFL and
Yeah.
what it's become in the last, decade, and so to speak. But for what it's worth, as far as entertainment is concerned, they've mastered television. They put a great product out, and I still root for the 49ers.
Yeah, that was a crazy game too. I
Yeah.
watched the highlights from that.
It was amazing, man. And being there, obviously I think football's kind of made for television.
Yeah.
So I don't typically go to the games at all. And yeah, man, just being down there, my buddy Dave hooked me up with some seats, and just watching that happen. The crazy thing is that I knew, we have a rookie on the team, Ambry Thomas, and I sent texts out to my buddies who are Niners fans pretty much all week saying Ambry Thomas is going to get an interception. Ambry Thomas is going to get an interception. Before the game starts, to take a picture, send it to him. Ambry's going to get an interception. A rookie that kind of came on in the middle of the year. Sure enough, interception in the game. So
No way.
I'm feeling pretty good. I'm feeling pretty tapped in. I'm feeling like I can see things right now. And so it was only a matter of time till I hit you up and just reconnect with you as well, because I feel like, being on the same page is important.
Oh yeah, for sure, man. We'll get back to that because I want to talk about what we're gonna do after we finish the podcast.
Yep.
But I'll just jump back into kind of traditional format so far as just like the biography. So we'll
Sure.
start with like your full name.
Yeah, Asher Paul Roth, man, born in Morrisville. Well, actually, I was born in Princeton, New Jersey.
No way. I
Yeah,
didn't know
born in
that.
Princeton, New Jersey. I was only there for a little bit at like I guess not like a straight up orphanage or whatever, but one of those like health centers, women's health centers, so not in a hospital. And then didn't stay too long. I guess we lived in Hightstown, New Jersey for a few weeks or a few months or whatever it was, and then moved across the bridge and grew up in Morrisville, Pennsylvania, which is about 25, 30, 35 minutes, depending on how fast you're driving and how much traffic is going on from Philadelphia. Bopped around for a little bit, obviously, after spending a couple years at Westchester University for elementary education.
Okay.
Bopped around to Atlanta for a bit.
Okay.
Went to New York after that. After my Atlanta stint, came out here to
Hold
LA.
on. We gotta.
Yeah.
So, what was your family unit?
My parents are luckily they're still together. So I'm
Cool.
actually the youngest. I'm the baby boy.
Mm-hmm.
So I have 2 older sisters, and one's out there in Seattle, Tess, who just blessed us with a new nephew.
Cool.
So Bruce, welcome to the world.
Welcome, Bruce.
And then Ajika is the oldest, and she's over there in right outside New York after spending the last better decade in the education system in New York.
Wow.
She's moved out to New Jersey when she started her family as well. So the two girls in the family are crushing it with the fam, and me, I'm just kind of I like to pack light.
Yeah. Good way to put it.
Mm-hmm.
I just came back from Utah, and like my 3 closest friends all double babied, triple babied
It's
up.
that time for us, man.
And
you know?
I'm jealous.
Yeah.
They're cute as fuck.
For sure,
All
man.
of them. Like it just from like maybe 3 months to like 12 months, 9, like 15 months. So there's a bunch of those around right now, and man,
it's a pal, and you can't return them though. So it's like what's really nice about the nieces and the nephews. So I have a nephew from a niece and a nephew from Tess, and a niece from Ajika, and so I think it's like, Sabine's probably 5 right around.
Yeah.
I think she turns 5 in January, end of January, and getting to hang with them, it's a good trial run.
Yeah.
I know that I have like the papa bones, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? I feel like I have like a natural, this forever young, could totally hang with the kids, obviously being in school for elementary education. So it's there for me, but there's a few things that I want to check off. And obviously, Lord willing, and that we can even have children. You know what I mean? No, you don't even know. It's such a miracle to have life. So if you have 10 fingers and 10 toes, and you just had a child, congratulations.
Yeah, for sure.
You're very fortunate.
Yeah. So what was it like growing up in Philly?
So it's quiet, man. I mean, again, just discussing this, and as far as like, being a white kid and like stereotypically considered, I remember kind of having this conversation coming up in the rap game, and being influenced by essentially the secondary market of rap and hip hop, which is like, this is early 2000s for the most part, late 90s for sure, but really early 2000s stuff. So rap music and hip hop culturally had become something that was really heavily marketed towards people like myself. And so influenced by it. But, for me, so growing up, it's rap music, WWF, you know what I mean? Sports, NFL, stuff like that. Those are your main influences. But, pretty quickly early on in my life, specifically late teenage years, you start to realize you're probably not going to be a professional athlete.
Yep.
And maybe you realize that the WWF isn't real, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you either go that path. Yeah, who knows? So, for me, music was something that, and just expression of, it was something that was very communal. That was something that, growing up being a baseball player, I think being part of team-oriented sports was really important to me as far as social interaction, all of that kind of stuff. And music still provided that for me. And that's the same way with me. I actually never really was attracted to kind of just sitting in my room doing 5 beats a day for 3 summers. You know what I mean? It was collaborative. It was always working with other producers and getting out from behind the computer and just zoning in, working with engineers. And so what's interesting now, not to fast forward too far away, is that I almost feel a little out to sea because everything's become so much like, streamlined to the point where it's all rappers, producers, and engineers doing all of their own stuff.
Yep.
And so, of course, from a growth standpoint, you want to tinker. You want to be able to speak the language and know what you want.
Yeah.
But I'm still from the collaborative world that I love and actually enjoy working with other people.
Yeah.
If that gets taken away from me, I'm not sure I'd love the craft as much.
Me too. It's funny. I'm perfectly in sync on that.
Yeah.
Like I feel the exact same way. It's a team sport. It's a collaborative effort, and that's like where the magic really like sparks. Even if it's just 1-on-1, but it's like just going beyond yourself for me is a big difference. Like I feel the most creative and inspirational energy when like the room is just lit up, whether that's like just 2 people feeding each other or like 4 or 5 people, if there's producers, musicians, and writers and artists, and everybody's just like focused and not on their phones, and like you're feeling like the direction you're going in is great. It's just like the fire is cooking.
And you can feel it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can be like, all right, something's going on right now.
Yeah. And I feel like for me, like you nailed it also perfectly with like, you see everybody transitioning, which is an interesting point in time of like, I used to just solely engineer, and I used to think like, this is it. Like I didn't want to do this in the beginning, but I fell in love with it. And now I'm like, I'm really good at it and I really enjoy it. And I really like, I understand my role and position, but the way the business is shifting, especially now from COVID, it forces you to, you have to be, I've always been a multi-tool player, but like now it's really like, well, I can also like write songs, so I should be writing songs, and like I can produce stuff, so like I should be producing, and then like, you start to like detach a little bit from the rest of the world that you've built, and it's not the same.
It's not the same. Little isolating, and then obviously you bring in the music business, the business side of the music, and basically saying the survival bone or the greed gene or whatever it is like, how much of this song can I own?
Yeah.
And in order to do that, let me make sure I produced it, that I wrote it,
Yeah.
and let me actually cut people out.
Yeah.
And I think to your point, you lose a little bit of that magic when that starts dictating the process.
Yeah. It's been interesting because I've been making the transition to like executive producing projects almost exclusively now as like joint venture partnerships with artists. And that's usually like with an artist, with the producer. I tend to be the one who's managing all of the business. So it's all the percentage discussions. And so far it's been fucking awesome.
Yeah.
I've been in a really good group of people where it's just been like, hey man, like I'd like this. Cool. You got it.
Yeah.
You know, like,
Well,
you have more than that actually, and like,
and
you're awesome.
It doesn't need to be that hard. You know what I mean? And like, it's easy to say yes, and it's easy to like, what do you want to see out of this? That makes so much sense for me as someone who's been participating in Truth Studios as a incubation station for a decade, and so to hear you say that makes a lot of sense because places like this, one, they're few and far between, where you can kind of like turn the clock off, let people be creative, let people tinker, let people learn things. Right now, and with COVID and all that stuff, a lot of that only happens in the bedroom now. And like, a lot of those things only happen maybe on your own time. And so for you to allow that to happen in your space, and it's not always seamless, growing pains or whatever you want to call them, you have to have a lot of patience. But, you've always had that. So it's really cool to hear that you've kind of, been parlaying what you do here into an executive production role, because that ultimately is what you've been doing for 10 years.
Yeah. Like I didn't really understand it, from that perspective.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, wait, hold on. Like I am calling like all these people together, basically funding the whole fucking thing. And like, kind of from some degree like coaching, and helping like be a good collaborative partner with just constructive feedback,
Absolutely. And sure, you got to name it something, so call it executive production, right?
I mean, I don't give a fuck about like, to me it's never been about titles, it's never been about how many this or how much that. It's just like, damn, it's expensive to live in LA. Like it'd be cool if like I could build up a royalty catalog that could just like make sure my monthly nut is like covered.
That's
and
huge.
If I can go on a couple trips throughout the year, like eat good food and like buy good food for people who are coming here, like, dude, I'm happy, so happy.
Well, and that's it, man. I mean, like, excuse me, but having an understanding of what you actually want, right? And what's enough. Because I know so many people who have gotten into this game, or maybe a different sector with financials and stuff like that, and it almost becomes a high score thing. Like, okay, cool, you get your money and you get this, influence or whatever it may be. And then once you have your money, since you don't really know what you want, you just go on this path of making more money. Yeah. And so, for you to hear you say, and I'm kind of that same cloth, is like, this is all I really want. And continuing to have a little bit of flexibility in my life, a little bit of spontaneity where I can like get up and go do these things. I think sometimes when you pull all of these responsibilities into your life for the sake of business or whatever it may be, suddenly you're kind of captive to those responsibilities. And so you start to remove a little bit of your freedom, flexibility, and spontaneity from your life. And to me, again, only to me personally, that's really, really important. And so that's why I kind of move at the pace that I move at. But all things considered, to where I am in my life, actually really relatable to where you are, I love the idea of coaching. Yeah. And we're seeing it in the NBA, and we're seeing it in the NFL, or not so much the NFL, but specifically, I guess the NFL too, or these sports, is we're seeing the athletes that we watched now become coaches.
Yeah, which is super cool.
I feel like I'm in that space, and I think that like as long as I can continue to cultivate a voice that people trust, you can be a good coach. Because people listen, they're like, damn, you've played the game before. You know what I mean? If you've never played the game before, it's kind of easy to be like, I feel you, but you don't really know. Yeah. And so those are things I care a lot about, is like, how can you take care of yourself from where you live, how much it costs to be alive, because you'll see in the EP that we're going to record, it's expensive to be alive. That's like it costs to live, and then you choose to live in Los Angeles. Yeah. So all things considered in your formula, stupid decision. Now you have to look at it like, now you look at it like, okay, well, I live in LA, it costs this much, how can I get this without losing a little bit of what I like to define as my life?
Yeah. That massive debt.
Massive debt.
That's how I could just get comfortable living in debt, and then it's just going to be the most fun life. And like to me, since I don't really prioritize money, it's like, dude, I've always been a happy fucking camper.
Well, here's a trip for you, man. And I don't even know if I should be admitting this on camera, but I got money relatively early.
Yeah.
In my life. And so as far as financial literacy and all those things, but I was running everything through a business credit card.
Yeah.
And so for the last 10, 12 years of my life, everything's been through my business.
Yeah.
So my business can borrow money if it needed to.
It's the best.
Asher Roth can't borrow money.
Yeah.
I'm actually not in the matrix at all. And so
too.
I found that out recently because, I like to spend cash.
Yeah.
And so my girlfriend and, people in my life are like, what are you doing, man? Like, why are you spending cash? Like, the credit system allows you, if you are responsible, to earn cash back and rewards. Like, use this card, pay your card off monthly, whatever it may be. So I'm like, oh shit, that's probably a good idea. Let me go get a credit card.
I've been on credit cards for a long time, but I learned about what the benefits of being a single member LLC are, and like also like being able to borrow money and like eventually getting a line of credit, which was like something I was opposed to. And my dad was like, you should start building that up, and I didn't really have a reference for that because I was always of the mindset of like, I just have what I have. Like I can move within that, and like maybe 5 years ago, it was like, get a $20,000 line of credit. And I was like, all right, cool. And then like, there's like 3.5% interest for the year. I was like, holy shit. This is, can I get more?
Yeah, this
like,
is free money. Yeah.
So especially now with like seeing what inflation and shit is happening right now, I'm like, dude, just pile it on now for me, because like I know there's like a one switch and it all changes. So for me, I'm right now just like I'm going full bore into what I want to do, and like the money thing will I have faith. And obviously I'm not an idiot, but
sure,
like I have faith that that's gonna just be like a we'll wash that off real quick with like a crypto. Like I've seen those.
There's options.
Yeah.
But it's also insured. That money that you're borrowing is insured. It's not your money. And so these are things that I'm, getting privy to, but like, dude, like they don't teach this stuff,
Yeah, not at all.
But shouts to your pops for being like, same thing happened in my life of like, why are you not like using the credit system to your advantage?
Yeah.
And it's like, because my entire life I wanted to stay away from it always. And so you get older and you realize, look, use it. Don't let it use you, and there's benefits to capitalism, for what it's worth.
Yeah, I mean, you can like if you don't get too greedy, like you said, if you don't have those bones, and you have a reason or a goal, and you're like, okay, after this point, I can also now help all these people,
totally,
which is my mindset, and even while I'm trying to climb, I'm still in that mindset. But like, just starting to like observe things and learning little cheat codes where it's like, dude, if you buy a house, you can just continue to like remortgage your house and take like tax-free money against your house. And I'm like, how the fuck's that possible? Like if you have $1 million house and you pay off like 3/4 of it, you can just borrow $500,000, no tax on that, go do whatever you want, invest, buy whatever, another house, whatever, and just keep that going. And I'm just like, what?
It's tricky. For me, I just feel like, again, having that checklist of things you want to do, right?
100%.
And so you can kind of check those off. So if you want to buy a house and say a specific location or whatever it may be. But when you start going down the road, it also feels like when you're talking to me, it's like, man, that could also be really consuming. It's like, now I'm like, oh gosh, now let me parlay this into that.
Yeah.
And so it's a slippery slope. So ultimately, responsible spending, y'all. Responsible spending. Get a little checklist together.
Yeah, 100%. All right, let's dive back though. What was like family life for you guys growing up? Did you travel a lot?
No, not at all. I mean, my mom's such a homebody.
Okay.
And I think with that being said, my mom being a homebody, no mountains, no real adventures, pale, Scottish, so no laying out on the beach or anything like that. And so, no, traveling wasn't a part of my childhood at all, which is what was cool about kind of flying the coop, at 18, 19, 20, and really going off to college for the first time because, that's when you get in the driver's seat.
Yeah, for sure.
So, I didn't really have early experiences with like, you know, a traveling dad who was like, come with me, or, you know, an adventurous, like, let's take, you know, I remember going to Costa Rica when we were young, but, you know, again, resort life.
Yeah.
So it's nothing where you get that bone in your body. You're like, dang, I want to travel.
Yeah, I get that. And what kind of work did your parents do?
So my dad actually, I actually think I have it in the book bag. He just put out his first book.
Cool.
Published his first novel. So
Amazing.
The Femme Fatale Hypothesis.
Okay.
My mother, you know, grew up kind of in the like she was an aerobics instructor in the fitness world, and then she's always been into astrology and kind of that offbeat new age stuff. So she actually gets by with doing the astrology stuff.
Cool.
I mean, it would be her story to tell, but from my understanding, professional, you know, in that realm. So having those influences, I mean, I would actually say that their influences together have led to a really cool perspective in this rap world, because you know, my father being rather passionate and strict about language, literature, the written word, the power of constructing sentences and stuff like that, and then my mother in kind of this like expression, pure like unfiltered expression, but also like this like kind of cool belief in something, you know, having words in a world in Pennsylvania, which was just so much, you know, religion was, you know, Christianity, Catholicism and Judaism, and then for the most part, and then, you know, having words float around my household like pagan and paganism, and, you know, getting privy to those different sides. And I think that combination of belief in magic, essentially, and the power of spoken and written word have allowed me to put together, for better or for worse, a career in performance and entertainment. And
I mean, dude, you have a very unique skill set. Like, I mean, obviously your dad, I'm sure, had a big influence in the word and the structure and because you've like real technical skill with the way you construct.
Yeah, I would say if like, you know, people again putting words to things like executive producer, I would file probably what I'm doing under like lyricism, and, you know, I like to write. You know what I mean?
To me, like, I tell people who are not in my immediate music family world, especially when I work on rap, like, people discount it, and I feel like it always kind of has like the gangsta, like NWA, oh man, like thug guy kind of thing, still has that perception. And I'm like, you're missing like the beautiful poetry.
There's poetry
that these guys are writing, like modern Shakespeare, like complex, beautiful expression of whether it's personal story or just full creative making up a story, and I'm floored by that, man. I've always been floored by that.
You're fortunate because you're here and you get to see it. And again, casual music listeners, and, you know, emphasis on casual, they aren't here for that. You know, they want something that's pretty easy to understand, you know?
Yeah.
And so I learned that, you know, I guess we could call it the hard way.
Yeah.
Mainly because, you know, you put out something as digestible and accessible as I Love College.
Yeah.
And then, you know, when I start showcasing that I'm really interested in whether it be storytelling or word manipulation and wordplay and all these things that might be a little bit more coded. Same thing with, like, you know, we laugh about the relationships in my life, because if you don't know me or you're just getting to know me, I speak in riddle. Like, I speak like I rap, you know what I mean? So my dad's always laughing about it. You know, even when I'm giving directions, you know what I mean? Like the way that I say these things. And so my girlfriend's always laughing about it. But with that being said, I agree with what you're saying. There's like so much fun and beauty in that, you know, it's and it's authentic. But for the most part, that's not what's pushed to us, because it takes a little bit of work to sit down and decode some of these rappers. You know?
100%. I mean, I've been working a lot with Nick Grant for like the last year. almost exclusively, we've gotten to this point where we're working like 5 days a week and just creating like, at this point, like dozens, if not into the hundreds of songs.
Yeah.
And
Great.
I have to listen to his stuff. Like, I probably have like a comprehension level of like 60%.
Yeah. But how fun is that when you like listen back like a
Yeah.
year later and you're like, oh my gosh, bro,
Yeah.
I didn't even, oh, okay.
Or like he explained stuff to me, or like the night when we released the God Bless the Child EP, it was me, him, and Tay Beast, and we were sitting here, and like 12:01, some kid is like on YouTube, like, I'm gonna do a review of Nick Grant's new EP, God Bless the Child, and he like presses like, start on the thing and like listens to like 4 bars, and he pauses. Oh my God, he just said this, and I'm like,
What?
dude, you said that?
Yeah.
It's so funny to me. And you do the same thing. I mean, there's a few people in my life where I'm like, I really have to like decode, and it's the best. It's the best. My parents used to do that for me when I was younger. Like I would listen to like Big Timers, and he was like, what was it, like an On an Escapade, and my mom would be like, do you know what that means? Like, it was just always like this slowly Da Vinci Code-esque puzzle that like came together, because I never listen to music like it's not just for the music and just for the lyrics. It's like for the energy.
Sure.
And so like it's all comes downstream for me after that. Like it's an immediate feeling that I'm just like yes or no, and that's just like the tones, the rhythms, the instruments, whatever it might be, and then things start to eventually come into the picture and like it gets more detail. But it's initially like just all about like a visceral response I can't explain that I just feel from music, and it lights up a thing, and then I go down the path,
I can dig that, man. I mean, it's funny hearing you kind of say, I don't listen to music for one thing or the other, but there are a lot of people that I know that don't listen to music for lyrics. The lyrics are kind of a totally secondary thing.
Yeah.
And to the point where I can appreciate that. Also, when you're dealing with a art form that has the potential to, well, one, what can be described as the fabric that holds the glue that holds the world together.
Yeah.
And can go global.
Yeah.
And so a lot of the time, language and lyrics get in the way.
Yeah.
And so, I've actually had to scale it back slightly, realizing and understanding that to a lot of people, lyrics are secondary, but for the most part, that's what I do. You know what I mean? Like as far as voice and as far as saying something with substance, that's always been important to me. And so, it's been, again, kind of talking about evolution of tinkering with new things. You're saying coming from a sound engineering and then lending itself to songwriting and production. Similar to me, coming from songwriting, learning piano and production and engineering, all those things, but still understanding what is your essence, what's your
100%.
magic, you know? And so like that battle of, hey, lyrics don't matter has been something like you gotta, for me anyway, I had to kind of deal with it, be like, wow, dude, like people don't care what you're saying, huh? It just needs to be something that feels good. But at this point in my life, the truth is it's kind of all things matter.
100%. And I wouldn't say that it's like, I'm definitely not from the perspective of like lyrics don't matter. They just come into the picture. Like if I hear a song for the first time, I'm more so catching the melodies, the cadence, like the performance energy of like how something's moving, and then that ties me in. If I'm obviously like I'm not full on like muffling the words, and if I'm hearing shit that's like super ignorant, I'm just like, cool, not for me. Well, it might be cool with the energy, and like every now and again I'll listen to something and be like, oh, this is really cool, like Future fuck up some commas or something like that, and I'm like, oh, this is just nuts, like the energy in this is crazy, but the message ultimately is like toxic to me in a lot of that stuff.
Well,
and
you got it, man.
I choose not to participate.
Well, I think again that's kind of what lends itself to the power of the spoken word.
Yeah.
And so like I'm here for the energy too, especially when you've seen what these live shows have become.
Yeah.
And that's special in its own right. I think for me, I always resonated with not actively editing myself, but understanding, there's power in what you're saying.
Yeah. I mean, well, I also noticed with you did the same evolution years back that I'm watching Nick go through now which is as two extremely technical, very dense lyricists, you transition to retro hash, singing now, melodic performance. Rap is still A class, but not coming at you crazy fast, and it's more stylistic with impressive lyricism. And that's the sweet spot to me, where I'm like, okay, cool. If we're hanging in that zone, it's got a broader reach to people who are just fans of music, and it's still bringing like a potency of like intelligence, education, fun, and that's where I've been wanting to live. It's like that. Those songs are so much fun to me. I still love that album. I mean, I really love your whole catalog, but that album in particular is like the crown gem for me, because it's a combination of so many awesome things.
Well, it's exploration, it's adventure, and like getting like, exploring what else can you do. And I think for me, that's always been something that, once something was done, that was it. Moving on. Let's do what's next. Which is to me like that's the only way. Whereas a lot of people, it's like, that worked, let's do that 100 times. And so, like, again, these are qualities and characteristics of myself that they're honest and authentic, but sometimes they work against you. Because once something was done, even retro hash, like once retro hash was done, now it was time to elaborate on that. You know what I mean? And even so, with Flowers on the Weekend, the 2020 album, you know what I mean?
Man,
where it just like
so good.
Still taking melody and still taking songwriting seriously, because a lot of us, some of the greatest rappers you'll ever hear that are a billion times better than I am, can't write a song. You know what I mean? Some of these freestyle artists where you're like, how are you doing this right here, right now?
Where do those words come from?
How are you doing this? And then, but they can't write a song. And so it's like trying to, again, recorded work, songwriting, performance, like you're talking about, energy, trying your best to keep that unedited, where it's just like, this is what I'm feeling right now. Like, for instance, the EP that we're going to put together, it's called Gray, for two reasons. Our buddy out in Salt Lake City, Heather Gray, produced it, somebody I met online through this whole COVID experience, and we really hit it off. But it's also because of the mood. And so it's relatively sad. It's an EP that's kind of rooted in doubt. And hopefully from a performance standpoint, you hear that. You go, damn, dog, like, I feel you. I doubt a lot of my stuff too. But there's obviously the morsel and of hope. And so it's this conversation between hope and doubt. Like, I'm not feeling it right now. This is just not there's no way forward. But then, I'm sure you've been through this, as a lot of us have, because it's kind of the human experience. Then you wake up the next day and you're like, I got this, man. Like, we can do this. We got this.
I'm glad you're touching on that, because I feel like there's not a lot of art that's reflecting the times right now.
Yeah, I mean, like, I get it. You don't want to be overly literal and be like, yo, COVID-19, but I think that a lot of us are feeling like, we don't know what the fuck is going, we don't know what's up. And I think that, again, with all of the perils and kind of all of the stuff that we're experiencing, and even the conspiracy theories that have kind of ran rapid, I talk about it a lot with my buddies, is like, this is well deserved from the American government. Like, for them to speak and for people to not believe what they're saying, like, y'all did this to yourself. You know what I mean? And so we've got so much rewiring to do. As someone who runs a studio, if you don't care for your chords, and you know what I mean, you've got some serious untangling to do, and it's a disaster. And it feels like that's where we are. And so I think the process of untangling, astrologically speaking, again, the United States as essentially an entity, is kind of hitting its return. So there is kind of this like death rebirth thing going on with the United States, again, as this micro, this molecule, whatever you want to call it. But shit, man, I think that for me, I've always had the talent of being able to put into words how I feel.
Yeah.
There's so many people who can't do that.
Yeah.
And it puts a strain on their relationships. It puts it makes them feel stressed out or depressed, or might even lead to something as serious as suicide because they just can't express themselves.
Yeah.
And I've always been pretty fortunate to be able to sit down, take what I'm feeling, and say it. This is how I feel right now. And I have to recognize that that is absolutely a gift.
Yeah, 100%. And it's a great outlet for, I mean, in any respect. Like, I used to journal a lot. That was like my way of, if it wasn't like vocalizing it, it was at least like, cool, I can get like this down here.
Get it out.
And then fresh page tomorrow. And, like it's a good rhythm to have to download that stuff. But most importantly, like you said, to be in tune with where you're at, whatever tools you need to express that, like it's a big deal to be able to actually like unlock that and be like, cool, this is where I'm at right now. I'm sad, or I'm this, or I'm that. And especially after the last 2 years, like it is the most confusing time.
It's confusing.
Yeah.
That's really what it is. It's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
And to your point about getting it out, downloading some of these things, we're all different.
Yeah.
And that's what's kind of is freaking me out just slightly, is this kind of like simplifying of the human experience and putting it into, I guess, for lack of better words, like an algorithm. You know what I mean? You click on this, that means you must be interested in this. Let me give you more of this. Yeah. Whatever it may be. From our music services to our digital content, et cetera, whatever it may be. Dangerous to me.
Yeah.
Because it's not one size fits all for any of us. Same thing with diets. You know what I mean? Everyone's like, oh, go on the Atkins diet or go on the paleo diet. Everybody's body is so drastically different. And so, for me, rap, I can express myself in written word, and words I really vibe. And some people might be like, dude, that's not for me at all. And so it's dangerous for anybody to say, this is what you should strive to be like. Be like Asher, you know what I mean? Or be like, this basketball player, or be like, this person. It's just like, that's why I think in this new world, and even not so much isolation, but I really hope people are taking the time right now, if they can, to get to know themselves. You know what I mean? Like, what am I into? Yeah. And it helps, like, again, when you start doing the professional side of things or the business side of things, if you woke up tomorrow and you had $50 million in the bank, nothing changes. Yeah. And two, you better hope you know what you want to do with that. Yeah. Because so many people, they're striving for all these things, like, oh, and then you're successful, and then you're like, I don't even know what I want to do with this now that I have all of the freedom that I've been gunning for this whole time. Yeah. And so that's why that, whether it be meditation, whether it be, again, this is kind of more, whether it be yoga or exercise, whatever helps you get into that space of like, I'm learning myself, reflections with friends, conversations with friends, like those are great and huge refinement periods. Yeah. You just hope that your friends, your friends can hear you, listen to you, and don't get mad at you when you're refining your bullshit. Yeah.
And can also help you work through it. Yeah. And with like sound advice. Exactly. It's definitely not a one shoe fits all lifestyle. So
that's important, in my opinion, right now. Yeah. Like, we have a little bit of a time where there's like sort of a timeout. We're like, yo, hold up. And hopefully everyone's like getting back to their corner. Yeah. Go back to your corner and be like, yo, what am I actually into? Yeah. This is what I'm being told to be into. Do I really like that? Who do I want to be attracted to? Am I actually really attracted to this? Is this where am I? So, and the conversations are, real. They're hard, for what it's worth. So that's kind of where I'm at, and I hope that the Gray EP can be something that people listen to and be like, damn, I feel you, and these podcasts, these conversations can just be reminders that you're doing great, everything's okay. You know what I mean? Death is certain. You know what I mean? All these things, the horrific things that happen around us all the time. Welcome to life. You know what I mean? There's the subreddit of nature is metal. You know what I mean? Like, this is very real, dealing with those things and all that stuff. Don't mute that shit. You know what I mean? Don't like, oh, I don't want this. This is uncomfortable and unhappy. So I want to edit this out. Yeah. This is all part of it. It's a little interesting because maybe they are going to start, I don't know, I hate to use the word they, but maybe, this kind of curation that's happening in our lives for all things good is, going to affect the later generations. I think our generation is like perfect,
Yeah,
we didn't have the iPhone.
out.
We didn't have the iPhone, man. We had to go out and ride our bikes,
Yeah.
That stuff has made me, who I am. And so you see some of these kids that they might be when was the iPhone introduced? 2001? 2000? Let's just say 2001 so if you're 20 years old, you don't know anything else,
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you should even a little bit later on, like if you're, a few years older than that, because you obviously didn't like just, hey, baby, here's your iPhone.
Yeah. And
I mean, it's not too far off, but,
So it's more so thinking about the world for my nieces and nephew.
Yeah.
It's like, what are y'all going to grow up with? You know?
It's nuts, man. Seeing what they're going to grow up with. Right now, as a fan of video games, I'm in like the crypto world playing play-to-earn blockchain video games, making a few $100s a day playing video games.
How about it?
And I'm looking at that like, dude,
that's good for
like
you.
7-year-old me would have like lost my mind.
That's great for you. But what about like, so the shadow side of that is, and I'm, don't get me wrong, a lot of good in the decentralization side of things. But imagine if Instagram, for instance, let's just use it because we're all kind of like familiar with it. If I got paid micropayments in crypto for every time I posted, right?
Yeah.
Cool. Good idea. I should be, because I'm essentially every time social media doesn't pay me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Some people like think from an ad standpoint, but every time you're uploading something, whether how you typed it or all that stuff, it's all data entry, data points.
Yeah.
Now imagine how much people will actually post and how much of their life they'll live online if they're getting paid for it.
Yeah.
That's dangerous to me, man.
Me too. I live in like this confusing space of, obviously, like when you sit down and think, where are we going? It's a weird one, like in that same data point collection, as I was driving here, there's all on the corner of Fairfax and 3rd Street. Every corner has free COVID testing. And I'm like, man, are they just like getting all of our DNA, and like, is that like another?
Don't get me started, bro.
I know.
I'm out here like,
they're
3D printing organs, So
it's just so bizarre when you take a moment to reflect on like that's where we're at.
Well, that's it, man. Taking a moment to reflect, because these things happen really fast.
Yeah,
and a lot of it is driven with this, kind of death being certain. We're freaked out about that kind of stuff. And so much of our behavior is influenced from fear, and this is nothing new. Everybody knows this stuff. But when you're in that state of fear, you do things that after you reflect, I'm like, was that necessary? Did I need to do that? Like whether it be a fight or whether, some people haven't spent enough time to just like, let me chill for a second and figure out why I'm reacting this way.
Yeah.
I do think that there's a large sector simultaneously happening where there is a lot of people that are for, again, a lack of better words, awakening. You know what I mean? The people are coming to understanding that there's like like collective consciousness, and like, us being kind of that hive mind, and these things that are happening simultaneously. But there are still a tremendous amount of us that are just still lizard brain, fight or flight. You know what I mean? Let's fight about it.
Yeah.
And we're seeing it in our political structures, it being taken advantage of. But your point exactly is like, when I take a moment and reflect on this is kind of spooky.
Yeah.
And I think that's like what's so tricky about right now is like, it's spooky.
It's spooky. It's like, I really like, I'm at a point now where it's like, I really don't know who to trust. I have friends, family members, influence, like mentor, like people in all different corners of get the vaccine, don't get the vaccine. This is what's happening. This isn't what's happening, and it's really difficult to decipher all of that stuff. In Utah, one of my like closest friends and his family are like not anti-vaxxers. They just chose not to get the vaccine. And I respect it and totally understand. And it opens my mind a bit to that perspective. And then I also have like a family friend who is basically like the owner of St. Jude, or like one of the main people from St. Jude Children's Hospital. Like, the technology is bulletproof. You're a fucking idiot if you don't get this. Right. And like, from my friend in Utah's perspective, it's like, I see all this stuff on the media, on like news reports, blah, 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 cases, these things, crazy things. But in my immediate network, the people that I've known who've gotten COVID, have gotten it. They felt bad, various levels of how bad they felt. They recovered. They moved on with their life. So like,
and that's personal experience. That's what is in front of you that you're experiencing.
And I like almost discounted that. Like I didn't even think like that until he said that to me. And I was like, fuck, dude, you're right. Like I obviously can't speak for what's going on in the world, and I'm a team player. So like I got the vaccine. It was not something I would have willfully done because I'd just like to think that I can take care of my body and it's healthy. And if I got sick, I would maybe need a specific pill or some kind of thing that could help me out, or just to take a certain type of diet for that thing to, help subside that illness. But there's like there's just a huge gap of like having to think about this stuff and how it could be really damaging for your physical health from a vaccine perspective if it doesn't sit well with you. Obviously, like the illness and like all the other illnesses in the world that we can get can do tremendous damage to your body. But like the way it's all making us act towards one another is fucking crazy
and
to me, man.
I mean, the money involved, the people are taking advantage of it because people want to hear all sides of it. So it dominates the news cycle. Yeah. Again, from a fear standpoint. And like, we live by this little mantra of like that everybody's a little bit right. You know what I mean? Yeah. But it's such a disaster when the medical and your own personal health gets involved and you start setting mandates. And again, that whole goes back to one size fits all. It doesn't. And so when you start bringing up like, vaccines and medical and what you need to do, again, I'm not equipped to have this conversation and talk about it. I have my own, how I decided to go about living my life. But it's just a disaster.
Yeah, it is. It's a disaster. And
and again, mistrust of the government, like
it's on top.
You know what I mean? Like listen, they deserve this for people. But like at the same time, there are people perpetuating bullshit for clicks and commerce and all these things, and that's disaster. Yeah. So the whole thing's really, really messy, specifically in the United States. And again, like it kind of goes back to this like death and rebirth of a nation. We pride ourselves on like freedom and liberty and all these things, but then also like again, the individual. But then also when we're talking about society and we're talking about collective existence, and again, all of us kind of being. Have you ever done hallucinogenics or psychedelics or anything like that? I don't think you're in that space at all, right? You keep it pretty here on the ground, right?
I've done mushrooms probably like a dozen times, but I've never, probably more than a dozen, a few dozen times, but like I've never gone like probably for maybe more than like I'd probably say like half an eighth.
Sure. Yeah, you haven't like blown your head off.
Yeah, I'm not trying to like. I'm curious about other things. Like I've also like microdosed acid, and like that's even less of like an amount of the drug, and I've just like dabbled like toes in, and I love it. I think it's really great. I'm fascinated by like the brain neural networks that apparently light up with these various things. Like there's like a tobacco based network, there's a cannabis based network. Like there's literally parts of our brain that we don't actually activate because they're not getting, I guess, the molecules or whatever that comes from these various things. And, I've always pretty much been in the pursuit of like maximizing myself, so I can like maximize my time here. Sure. And it's like, I want to see like, what can I do that will.
Your Renaissance name would be Nick the Efficient.
Yeah.
But I ask only because have you ever had the experience that like you are me and I am you? Like just the actual the physical experience. Have you ever had that experience?
No.
So I've been in rooms. I've had the experience twice, and I remember on these two occasions being, whether it was just edible marijuana or psychedelics of some sort, and having a very real visceral experience that, oh my gosh, you are me. You're an element and a reflection of myself, and so is this person here, and all of these people are in my experience right now because they are me. Again, I went on this whole rant about how I know how to put things into words. Didn't really do a good job there, but I think that having that experience, and I think a lot of the psychedelic oneness experiences are hard to put into words.
Yeah.
And so with that being said, having had those personal experiences, and I'm not sitting here saying like everybody do drugs, but it's like one of those things that allows me to operate in a space of not being, yes, I have my own individual liberties that I want to operate within society, but I also have a strong understanding of for me and the collective.
Yeah.
And so that's why I would describe myself as a kind person. I would describe myself as a patient person as I grow older, because those are characteristics that, you know, are healthy for us all.
Yeah.
Because we're all operating this, you know, together. And so, you know, we're really rallying people around this individual experience and your individual freedoms. And I don't see or hear a lot of conversation around the collective.
Yeah.
And when it is a collective, it's nationalism. It's like borders and flags.
Yeah.
And that's not what it is at all. You know what I mean? Again, language gets in the way sometimes, but my people, when I go out and see them in France, or, you know, when we go and my buddy getting married in Greece, hanging with the Greeks, they don't really speak English too well. You know what I mean? And so you're vibing with these people purely off like energy. And so like that stuff to me really as a president, and why music, to your point, feeling, all of those things, what's it make me feel? Why dance music and house music and people getting together and literally becoming one organism when they're all at these festivals.
Nuts.
That stuff, you know, kind of only gets spoken about in the arts.
Yeah.
It doesn't really get spoken about in news. I mean, you're starting to a little bit, and I guess with medicine, when they're understanding that psilocybin, mushrooms, some of these drugs are helping PTSD and depression. And so there's a little bit of that conversation there in the science world.
Yeah.
And it's just starting to be revived. The stuff that, and again, not to belabor it, but the stuff that really frustrates me about it all is we were here already.
Yeah.
You know, 50, 60, 70 years ago. We
Yeah.
knew this.
Mm-hmm.
And we were like, no.
Yeah.
Let's go get that money.
Yeah.
And now here we are dealing with the repercussions of not fucking dealing with it. And same shit, a conversation with my buddy yesterday, and a friend that's a girl, was basically talking about how she wasn't necessarily sure she wanted to be with this guy. And she needed to have that conversation, but she didn't know how to have that conversation. And so instead, she just kind of ignored it, because non-confrontational kind of thing. That never ends well.
Yeah.
You know, you just kind of bury it. You don't deal with it. It comes back in some other form.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I feel like right now about collectively, is like, we knew this shit. We were doing LSD. We were doing mushrooms. We had reconnected with nature. We set up Earth Day. You know what I mean? We put solar panels on the fucking White House. And then a new regime comes in and says, nah, back to work.
Yeah.
And so like now nature is kind of stepping in and be like, work? What's work? You know, what are we working towards right now? And so it's, you know, again, the way I see it is 2020 was that hard reset button on your PlayStation.
Yeah.
And so for these next 2-3 years, 2021, 2022, this year, and probably, you know, 2023 for the most part, are the beginning of that download of, you know, resetting the game. And so if that's the way, again, we have to practice patience, because we will reflect and say, you know, a year, 2 years, 3 years, not that crazy. I've lived in different cities for 2 years, 3 years. When you're there and it's day to day, it feels like a lot. But when you reflect on it, you're like, I was barely there.
Yeah, blink.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so 2022, 23, around the mid part of the century, this is just purely a prediction, 24, 25, 26, you're going to start seeing things start taking shape. Yeah. Of like these new ideas and these new ideals. I mean, that's fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Or we can go backwards, you know?
Yeah. That's the dangerous part. And I think to touch back on what you were saying with like 50, 60, 70 years ago, like they knew a lot. and they made decisions that were purely based on like, we can manipulate this to make us money.
ExxonMobil, y'all knew. They knew.
Yeah, and pharmaceutical companies and just
they knew.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where it's really sad when you realize like human progress could be in an entirely different place, but we continue to get like legs kicked out from under us, like as a whole. And then obviously in classes and races, there's clear like evidence that shit happens to all different walks of life in different ways, and some harder than others. And as a whole, we're doing a major disservice to like ourselves. You know, like I look at now 2022 and think we're going to have like food supply problems.
Yeah.
And people don't know how to grow their own food.
For sure.
We
already do.
There's like there's a lot of things that are like, why is this still an issue? Like, why did we not put effort in to solve this problem? You know what I mean? Like, how do we not observe like, hey, maybe some of these like major super cities are not really great ideas because they're not sufficient if there's a problem. And like, we never thought about like if there's a problem. And like, now we're seeing the degree of the problem. And it's like, oh yeah, cool. Grocery stores are just empty. Like there's not enough food for this, and people panic. And so like learning how to grow food, like essential, trying to figure out like what's the off the grid house setup I can have where it's like solar and, you know, all these various things, composting. So you don't like have major trash output and like, you know, there's so many things we can do that we just like don't even think about.
Yeah.
It's really bizarre to think like, oh shit, like we're making like not even baby steps. We're like making like baby crawls towards progress. And like, there's clearly an agenda of some sort to like continue that path because it like milks people for the most amount of money. But at the end of the day, like I don't understand what the point of that is or where that really leads, you know, and ultimately we all destruct.
Yeah.
In the end, if that path goes forward.
I share that sentiment of I don't really get it. Even if I put on my like, you know, the selfish gene hat, like let me take care of myself, let me get mine.
Yeah.
Let me get rich and famous and get away from all the scum of the earth. Even if I put that on, it just feels rather lonely. It just feels like, you know, you ostracize yourself from people and experiences just so you can kind of like, you know, do your own thing. Again, like I would love to get like really wealthy people who have multiple homes and just talk to them about like, what's up? Like, how are you feeling? Are you happy? Like, is your day? They might say, dude, this is the best. Trust me. But for me, all of my experiences that I've gone through, even again, getting money early on, kind of even seeing fame to a certain degree where it kind of stripped you of real life stuff. Like, you know, your experiences were like, you can't even go hang out in the city. You know what I mean? You had to go straight to the hotel and kind of like hang out in the hotel before your show and all these things. So I can't even imagine what it's like to be genuinely famous, first and foremost. And then like, you know, kind of again, all of this stuff, these homes and these rooms that you don't even use. It's like kind of like, what for? You know what I mean? I read somewhere recently, and again, it's not a hard statistic, but the amount of people that didn't know their neighbors living in a city and all those things. And so, you know, for me being back in Philadelphia, starting Sunflower Philly, which is a nonprofit that's centered around art, music, and sustainability, all these things, these conversations, they're happening in the city. One of the most rewarding parts of my life in a city is I leave the house and I know my neighbors. I know the guys that are serving beer across the street, Jack and Doug and the crew and everyone's dog, the names of their dogs that live across the street. So you go out, you go for a walk and like, what's up, dude? Oh, hey, how are you? Blah, blah. And you feel like you're a part of something.
Yeah, community, man. We don't
community.
have that. Yeah. We're moving further and further away from that.
And I get it. Like some of that stuff is being promoted on the digital realm. When you talk about Discord, you talk about gaming.
Just gonna
people are developing their digital communities, and we did that with the Greenhouse Effect Volume 3. We did it all online. We invited anybody who wanted to come, and we made a project with fans, friends, followers from online. And there is absolutely a sense of community.
Yeah.
But it's different.
It's different.
It's different.
Undeniably different.
It's absolutely different. We did get a chance to get everybody to Sunflower, and we met everybody in person. And because of that, that is actually what made the community stronger.
Yeah.
Is because I was able to meet some of these people and look them in the face and know, okay, this is who you are. And so we went back to behind our computers and on our screens and into our chats, and now we can laugh a little bit harder because we really do know each other.
Yeah.
So again, little bit of juggling going on right here, but I feel like, again, my own experience is that we see what's important. We know where we're supposed to go.
Yeah.
Can we do that, please?
Yeah. Can we choose that?
Yeah. Can we choose that, please? And like, it's tough seeing, the Facebooks of the world and these people that are in kind of conversation and news. And again, just from human behavior, us clicking on the car accident rather than the good news. And because we click on the car accident, that is what gets pushed to us because the bad news sells.
Yeah.
And it's just, man, like, it's an uphill battle. But what you're doing, the conversations that we're having, hopefully people stick around long enough and have these conversations. Maybe they have them with their friends. I do think that there's an older generation, kind of the baby boomers of the world, that have been the whole pick yourself up by your bootstraps, don't complain about it, and whole immigrants that came here and it was all about working hard. I do think that there is a truth there as far as that initial American dream of opportunity. I do think that there's inklings, but a lot has changed.
Yeah.
This isn't our parents' town.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so I hope that there is conversations happening amongst people that lead to genuine action.
Yeah.
And not just dialogue
Yeah.
of like, I heard you. Are you done complaining? We're going to get back to work now.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I remember being in a rally for pipeline that was being built. Native Americans all showing up. It was powerful, but you just felt the people up in the skylines and Verizon and all these places just looking down and seeing like, well, when they're done, we'll get back to work.
Yeah.
That's what you knew what was going on. We were going to chant and sing, and we were going to, unify about like how wrong this pipeline was and how it was affecting our lives. And they were just like, just wait it out.
Yeah.
When they're done, we'll finish the pipeline.
Yeah.
And I can't sit here confidently and tell you that's not what's going to happen here.
Yeah, I can't either. And that's a scary reality to be living in. And like from our perspective, basically the same age, pretty much same position, not married with kids, looking at getting married, having kids, wondering what the fuck is that going to be for my kids?
Right. Are they going to have water?
Yeah. As a perpetual optimist, like I love believing that it's all going to be great. Mm-hmm. But also as like a realist, like I think it's less than a 50-50 chance. That
there's got to be action, bro.
Yeah.
There's got to be action because how much do the powers that be enjoy Twitter activists?
Yeah.
They love that shit. And like, I've enjoyed a couple chuckles of when people are talking about, change and all that stuff. Well, what are we going to do? Like, get an online petition? And it's like, I feel you. Like we need to figure out some more actionable items. And so when I hear people speak about the future and I appreciate their ideas, there aren't a lot, and I appreciate the dialogue, and I'll find myself shaking my head like, that's what's going on for sure. There's not a lot of solutions.
No, there aren't.
And I think that there's a lot of influences, like we're finding, the decentralization, crypto, getting out of this financial mess, all of that stuff I think is rooted in solution-based technologies. Yeah. But it's also kind of being manipulated to the point where it's just like, y'all do your thing over there. Don't mess with what we're doing over here. Yeah. And so like, but how fun would it be to use some of these new technologies and actually solve some of the problems we've created for ourselves in the natural world? And, I see it. I definitely be like, damn, why can't we do that? It's funny that you say bringing up growing your own food. My father's pretty adamant through these conversations that we have that his grandchildren will certainly be eating food that has never touched the ground. Yeah. It'll all be lab grown.
I think that's the scary part about what we're looking at and like what we're willing to give up by not paying attention now and not addressing the problems
there it is
now. Yeah. And like, I mean, look, I grew up super privileged in that I got to travel and had parents that really encouraged activities of like go horseback riding, go fishing, go scuba diving, be out in nature, go ride a motorcycle, go, sit in a field, whatever it could be. That's just like, oh, I have a connection to this. And like, I love animals, and I look around at like our world and see like most people don't give a fuck. Like, obviously we care about like the cute ones, because it's like, yeah, I want to look at puppies on Instagram or some shit, and like that always makes my day, because like animals are awesome, but we're killing a lot of them that are going to be important to like the future of how we all eat and the sustainability of how good that's going to be, and in turn how that balances out with the whole fucking success of the ecosystem, the environment, the weather. Like, all those factors are things that for some reason we can't agree on the best way forward and how to start putting in effort. And like, I'm super guilty of not doing my part, and I can claim that.
We all are.
And I started dating a girl in Australia at the beginning of COVID, and like, she is one of the most incredible people I've ever talked to, in that she does own multiple homes, but every home she owns, she has people who live in those spare rooms, so she can always travel and have her one room. But as a city planner and town planner, she started to explain to me how detrimental like second homes are to cities, because you just have like all these vacancies and you create big holes in communities. And then it started to boil into like, well, I drink like bottled water every day. Sometimes I drink 3-4 bottles of water every day. Like, go to the store, buy a bottle of water, drink that, throw it away, do it again, do it again, do it again. And then it was like, hey man, like literally carry a fucking water bottle with you, and like all that plastic goes away. And like, oh my God, how was I not doing this before?
Shifts in behavior are really hard.
Yeah, it is. And the bigger ones for me are like not ordering as much shit online, not creating as much trash, trying to figure out how to bring like my own silverware, my own Tupperware. So like, if I'm taking stuff to go, I'm not like trash. Here's a bag. Here's a minimalizing all those things is like, all right, that's my effort. Like until I don't have real estate or space to be really like growing food. I'm trying, like, it's another thing she sent me, like for a birthday gift, she got me like a planter box and seeds and soil, and like started growing like my own radishes and arugula, and like, dude, like
urban gardening,
like 10 weeks to grow one fucking radish and like have
some
failures.
Bro. No, exactly. That's like, exactly it on why, like, I can't sit here and champion that learning to grow your own food is the way, what I mean? But there needs to be these co-ops and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Why are the potatoes and the farm to table stuff, why is that the most expensive stuff? Obviously we all know the answers, but like, how can we, again, agree upon the best way forward and get some of these healthy foods, change behavior, fast food, all this stuff. But like, what's so funny talking about it is because look at that, man. Everything that we've just talked about, there's a lot of problems.
A lot.
And where do you begin? And so it's like, you're talking about the extinction and endangerment of animals, single-use plastic, the financial system, banking and credit, you know what I mean? Our spending habits, our behavior and our food. I mean, like, whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Like, it's for a lot of us, again, living in Philadelphia, a very neglected and poor city, we're just trying to get by. You know what I mean? And so like, we get by with the little that we have, and the little that we have has to go to maybe the kids and stuff that we have first and all of those things. And so, then you've got the influence of image and your clothing and all of the stuff that you're wearing. So what a complex thing we're dealing with. It's funny about the trash stuff. We have in Sunflower something called Trash Club, and so collectively at least once a month we do our cleanups. I'm telling you, that trash regenerates tenfold. And so at the end of the day, when I sit down with Mel and we talk about Trash Club, yeah, cool. Again, same thing with like philanthropy. You do these things and they make you feel better, right? But ultimately, trash club, the only way for it to be successful is for people to change. It's an ideological and consumer behavior. It literally has come down to the single person deciding, I'm going to buy less.
Yeah.
And I'm going to, whether maybe, you know, bring some reusable bags or not eat this like one serving of Doritos, because that's a lot of the trash. It's just like, you know, a single use thrown away, ends up on the street outside of our park. We got to pick it up. And again, but like, that's just a starting point for this enormous conversation of like, of behavior and how we get down specifically again here in America, because it sounds like some of these other countries have a couple like different priorities than we do.
Yeah.
And there are case studies of countries and places that people live that are doing pretty well.
Yeah.
And the quality of life, if you will, isn't bad. And so, you know, for me, even just going through the COVID stuff is like the conversation of like, yo, how is this not the impetus for health insurance for everyone?
I know.
You know, universal healthcare. Like, how is this not the place where we have this conversation?
Yeah.
Isn't this the perfect point to say, all right, new rules, universal healthcare?
Yeah.
Sorry, you know, the private insurance, I get it, the fears of like longer lines, worse quality, all those things. Okay, cool. You can still have the choice to use private insurance, but let's do universal healthcare. That's new rule number one. Yeah. I mean, I'm looking around. I was like, that should be the reset, right? All right.
100%.
In the new download 2022, 2023, 2024, let's make sure people can not die from, you know, some bullshit accident stuff that happened to them or be buried in medical bills. Yeah. You know, let's try to solve that issue first. But dude, I mean, the list of, again, kind of man-made problems is long.
Yeah, and that's the biggest one that I look at. That's where I, you know, like in learning about countries that have universal health care, the first step is like the government's position is now to ensure you are healthy because it costs them money if you're not. And that means, what food are we allowing imported into our country? What ingredients are you eating? How is this farmed? How is this taken care of? Because if you're going to constantly be eating all this shit that we eat as Americans, which is banned and illegal in other countries because it's not fit for them to eat, like, how are we supposed to go past that fundamental point if like our game is geared to make us unhealthy and then stack on medical bills and pharmaceutical bills so that you have to continue to pay for prescriptions, in some cases for a lot of people, for your entire life. Yeah. Treatments, pills, therapies, like,
it's sad, man.
You're never getting off, you're never hitting the ball. Yeah. If you are lucky, you bunt and it rolls to like foul ball, but somebody's going to come fucking tag you in 2 seconds. Yeah, you are not getting to first base, let alone getting around. You're never going to score. That setup is fucked.
If you're lucky.
Yeah. If you're lucky. If you have extreme skill.
They have a struggle with the concept of luck, and I do appreciate that, as far as like, you know, creating your own, or luck's not really a thing and you have to put yourself in those opportunities, but holy shit. And it's the same thing I feel about racism, right? Like, you know, end racism is kind of an interesting slogan because that stuff is just so rooted in just like humans. But you can actually end systemic racism. Like, there actually is racist policies. Now that is something you can end. Yeah. There's just going to be the forever racist shit that's just racist fucking people being racist motherfuckers. Yeah. But then there is systemic policy of, like, you know, black businesses not being able to get loans and all of these things. You can end that shit. Yeah, 100%. And so it's like, to your point exactly, it's like so situational. And for the most of us, we're just all stuck in the mud, playing from behind our entire lives. And like, it's by design. And so, again, through rap music, to tie it all together, and I'm sure I know that you say that you haven't played your role or played your part. I would argue, I know that it feels insignificant a lot of the time, but you do empower artists, and you empower voices, and you know, an outlet, and create a safe place for people to be creative. That I've learned through my career that one-on-one and, like, you know, each one teach one kind of vibe really is helpful and really actually is important. I mean, look at the fucking coronavirus, dog. One person gets sick,
Yeah.
but look at the spiral that it has. It goes and hangs out with all of these other people. Now think about that on a positive side. You have these conversations, you help somebody, and then that kind of reverberates out, and the people that they interact with, that can all help all of those people, or maybe change a couple minds in the way. And so I would say what you do in kind of encouraging and cultivating a positive creative space is helpful beyond something that you might not necessarily recognize. And then the next step would probably be just altering your own behavior that fits your own shit. Like, look, I'm going to stop buying plastic bottles.
Now I'm seeing, like, so I've always kind of tried to figure out, in my head, I feel like I have, not like I can say, oh, I have all the world's solutions in my head. But, like, if I'm just sitting with that in my head, where's that going? You know? And, like, I have these really great conversations with people who come into the studio, and it's been like that for a long time. And again, it's like, it may have some influence on a 1-to-1 or 1-to-4 level if there's like 3 or 4 other people in the room with me and we're all having a conversation. But, you know, then the idea was to put it into music somehow. But then you start to realize, like, I gotta be really fucking creative if I'm gonna like teach people about things through music and not be like preaching, not be, you know, like, it's very difficult to be educational. And so this showed up in my mind, and it was like, this is the format to now be able to have conversations. But in their conversations, like, I've had amazing conversations with people. Artists have such wild lives, traveling, very like open mind to all walks of life, because you're just constantly interacting with people from all corners of the world, all classes. You could be around people who literally are homeless, who somehow, you know, have heard your music and are inspired by what you did, to somebody who's a billionaire who's just like, dude, I fucking love rap, you know, and everyone in between. And I hope that this grows into something that helps in more of a large scale way, because this now takes the conversation that you and I'd probably be having. That's why I wanted to just sit down and get right to this, because I figured you and I would have a lot of this conversation privately, and I'd be like, damn, Asher and I just had this awesome conversation, and only he and I have that in our life, you know. And now, who knows this, you know, but if one other person hears this and at some point one thing was like, you know what, I'm going to do that too. It's like, cool, success like that. I think whether it's music, whether it's conversation, like, there's got to be some way we can start to structure getting a voice out there that is, you know, encouraging, is guiding in hopefully the right direction to compete with all those that are like guiding in the wrong direction.
And maybe we're doing this all in vain, you know? Maybe this is just the way it is, you know?
Yeah.
And that's something you had mentioned, like, being an internal optimist. Like, that's it, man. Like,
yeah.
Like, that's like, I operate in that space as well. And, you know, being okay with the fact that this just might be the way it is. Because to your point, like, artists have all of these amazing experiences, and those experiences kind of help shape them as people, you know. And this is what it is, you know. We're seeing all of this like traumatic experience that people had as children, and those experiences, traumatic experiences as children, shape them who they become as adults. Artists get to travel, and they get to see these places and meet these people, and so that makes them maybe become a little bit more, what do they call, worldly, or whatever it may be. Now you have small town people who might be like, again, let's use racism, extremely racist, have never met a black person or a minority in their lives. And they're the most racist people, because they don't have the experiences to go through and say, oh, I hang out with these people all the time. This is like, they're just like us. Yeah. You know what I mean? So it's how do you get that across in conversation and ideas? What do you do with the information when you learn something and you go, well, that sounds right? That's not what it is. People have to go out and feel it and experience it and know it for themselves. And a lot of us are just running off of assumptions, or maybe somebody that we trust, or maybe that's what our dad thinks or our mom thinks, and so we think that way too. Instead of like learning it and doing it ourselves. But that's why I'm really trying to, what you're saying, again, the one, this is where it starts. These conversations, this dialogue, this is where it starts. Whether we're operating in the light or operating in the shadow side, And the nefarious ideas, they have the same conversations.
Yeah.
They sit here and they go, how can we control all this shit?
Yeah.
How can we control everything? And then, you have the other side of it is just like, how do we let things just happen?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But it all starts here in the conversation and the ideas. And then how do we get to that next level of like actionable items?
Yeah.
And that's the hardest part, because I think, people listen to podcasts all day and shake
Yeah.
their head and go, yeah, I agree with that. Yes. Fuck yeah. Yes, me too.
I'm home. Back to turn the car off, walk in the door, do the thing. Yeah.
And it's easier that way for sure.
Yeah.
But I do think, again, I'm encouraged by some shit. I mean, like, we just, a lot of people went out and marched in these last few years for, again, stuff that we knew, but civil rights and just rights in general, women's rights. I mean, these are landmark numbers of people coming out and saying, this is bullshit.
Yeah, it's insane.
But again, what have we actually seen in regards to change? I mean, police reform, people were out there for police reform.
Yeah, it's the same kind of description as like the pipeline and the
Pipeline.
and
The pipeline still gets made.
Yeah.
So again, we need to stay doing what we do.
Yeah.
Again, hallucinogenics and mushrooms. The first time I ever did mushrooms, I had this moment where, like, if I call everybody in my phone and tell them to call everybody in their phone, and they tell everybody in their phone to call everybody in their phone, we'll eventually reach everyone. And it was like fucking clear as day that was the truth.
Yeah.
And there might be something there, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You have these conversations, you and I. You go home, you speak with your shorty in Australia and go, I had this great conversation. She goes, oh, blah. I had this, and you just start passing it along.
Yeah.
But, there's a lot of forces that are the flip side of this, and that's why just being realistic about all you can do is like, be your best version of yourself. Hopefully there's bones in their body for other people like you where you just want to be efficient. You want to be better. So you get up and you do these things, and it's not just a New Year's resolution that lasts for 2 months, but you genuinely can go in and alter a little bit of some habits you've picked up throughout your life. That shit is hard work, man.
Yeah, it is.
Altering your behavior and your habits, such hard work. And again, you're dealing with so much of like, how, again, city planning. How are your cities set up? In Los Angeles, this isn't a very walkable city.
No.
So part of your behavior is getting in your car. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So it's like, and again, when you're living in Chicago, or if you're living in some of these colder cities, you can't ride your bike. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? I know maybe somebody will be like, maybe you should ride your bike to work. So it's,
Yeah, it's all minus 20, but yeah. I'll hop on my
so
bike
to your point, preachy or
Yeah.
feeling like you have solutions to all these things. Very situational, and it does. It's so strange. It's funny because we're coming full circle. If it does come down to the individual,
Yeah.
and they need to make that decision for themselves.
Yeah.
But hopefully that decision is made for the collective.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You have to be more conscious of it. You have to be incorporating that in your day-to-day lives, or we're never going to right the wrongs here.
Yeah.
And unfortunately with certain things, I don't follow like the science and data on a daily basis at all, or really even to a deep degree. But when you look at things like global warming and you start to hear there's like this window of time before we like can't correct course.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I haven't done the research myself,
Yeah.
but I would assume that's really true. I mean, like,
The logic to me adds up in that. Regardless, I don't know why you would be trying to thread the needle to the point where, like, we're going to find out. Like, oh, you said 2027, we can't
Yeah.
do this anymore? Well, let's get to December 2026 before we decide, fuck, we got to all do this right now.
yeah. But this is where it's so great to have somebody else on the other line of thinking to come talk to us about it. Like,
Yeah.
So what is your vibe on climate change, and why do you think that it's just bullshit, and why is it maybe a democratic ploy to put money into these initiatives or whatever it may be, and shifting money from, fossil fuels and oil to whatever it may be. And maybe that's what it is. Maybe there is like, a big shift in power and control. I mean, we've seen it with tech. I guess it's an aristocrat or somebody who basically is, kind of born into it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And we've broken from that kind of this whole royalty thing. And like, now it's basically if you just got the money, you get to sit at the table.
Yeah.
And so Bezos, all of these guys are new money and they get to come in and now they have say of where we're taking this thing.
Yeah.
Apparently it's space. You know what I mean? We're going to mine asteroids and all that stuff. But, with that being said, it's like if you get the money, if you have the money, you get to set the agenda. So maybe it's as simple as that, But, and again, I'm not even on some like socialism or anything like that. I do think that there's some policies that could be implemented that help a lot of people. And there's just a baseline.
Yeah.
So many people that I know don't want anything. I personally have like a little bit of ambition. So it's like, cool, here's your default character. You cool with this default character like setting. Here's like, you ever play NBA 2K? You kind of start your room. This is your room. There are a lot of us that are going to say, I'm cool. This is my room. I'm good here.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And then there's going to be a lot of us still. I don't necessarily subscribe to the, capitalism breeds innovation and competition breeds innovation.
Yeah.
There's obviously got to be some truth there. I mean, you see it in sports.
It does to an extent, but then nobody talks about like when we've reached excess, like what are we looking at?
But also, is it Moore's law? That kind of like, technology and all these things, they double each year or whatever it may be, exponential growth. I also think that we've kind of reached a point like where we can't double this again. I think we've gotten from these last 40 years or whatever it may be, specifically with computers. Again, now I'm totally getting out of my realm because you start talking about quantum computers and all of these things, cryptocurrency, all this stuff. This is so out of my jurisdiction. But it feels like we've gotten to a point where it's like, okay, here's what we got. This is what we're working with here. And so, that's the stuff with me that's just like the humanity getting lost in all this of like, again, that old slogan of like pull yourself up by your bootstraps and shit. It's like, we laugh about it, just saying that most of us don't even have boots, we can't. So that's kind of what I'm just kind of I lean more towards, again, like understanding and patience and not this like, well, tough luck. And maybe that's better of just saying, again, kind of like an evolutionary thing of only the strong survive, like it eats the weak. Maybe that mentality is the right mentality. I don't know.
It's hard as a kind person to have to adopt that.
You got it, man. Like I have empathy. Like I see people and I'm like, damn, man, that's like such a fucking drag. Like you see these fires that just happened in Philadelphia. There was a fire that killed like 7 kids, 13 people, and then one in the Bronx. I think these are public housing situations. Again, maybe like these fires with a space heater and all these things, maybe, need a little help with the heat. But all those things happen. So many people can just turn the channel off right away and go, oh, that sucks. Keep it moving. Myself, I'm just like, damn, that's really fucking sad. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And maybe, I keep it moving, obviously, because life. But there's definitely that moment of like, damn, like this is a drag.
Yeah.
And so a lot of that empathy and that understanding, affects me. And so that's just who I am.
Yeah.
Other people can turn that shit off and just say, tough luck, man.
Yeah.
Sucks. Life is hard.
Yeah. It is. It's weird. I mean, and that's when you realize like the human mind is just as deep as you want to carry it. And those emotions, some people just are good at brushing that shit off and keeping it moving.
The more I learn about humans, though, I don't think we're that way, though. I do think that we're like a communal, we need to hang out with each other. We need to be together. I mean, we're seeing this from a community standpoint. Like, there's not many other people. I mean, there are pack animals for sure, obviously. But, for the most part in the wild, it's just like, kill or be killed.
I mean, if you look at like in the wild, which is something I like to like look at, and hopefully at some point in my time in here, I'll shift careers, and that's a big thing I'm super fascinated by. And I think like pack animals would look like they would have the most success at life. Mm. You know what I mean? Like if there's a reason why animals tend to create those groups is because the one-off dies.
Yeah, I mean, look at trees.
Yeah.
But then motherfuckers come through with some big ass saws and just chop that shit right down.
Yeah. Yeah, life is tough, man. When you're a thinker and a emotional like conscious, thoughtful, especially kind-hearted person, it's a lot of weight to carry, especially now. We'll wrap it up in a second, but I want to pivot back to kind of like a walk-through journey on your career, because I feel like there'll be things that may be helpful for people embarking on this journey now.
Sure.
What was like the initial fuel for you? When did like the light turn on for music? Was it something that was brought into your life from a family member, a friend? Like, what was the initial launch point of the Asher Roth, I'm going to rap, I'm recording at this place with these people, and how did things progress?
It just, these things just kind of happen. My grandfather was a jazz trumpet player.
Cool.
My mother, sang in his jazz band and stuff like that. So
cool.
There were elements of performance, but nothing that was like, music for a living.
Yeah.
It's always been kind of just a hobby expression. So I'm still waiting for that moment of like, when does an author call themselves an author? And when does an artist call themselves an artist? For me, it's just kind of something of what I do naturally. I think that's what's funny about the rap stuff, is because I kind of consciously started to move away from just the business of music.
Yeah.
And I knew and have learned this about myself, is that I get these impulses to create and write and record rap music. And I would be doing that whether or not I was getting paid. What you see, I think what's funny, and I'm not accusing anybody of this, but you see it in punk music and you see it in rap music, that these people come in with very like rough edges, and then they get paid and they quiet down.
Yeah.
Now that might just be maturity, you know what I mean? But like, it kind of feels like in ways rap and punk kind of sold out a little bit, you know what I mean? And we're
Totally.
just like, we're paid now, we're
Yeah.
rich, and we're going to talk about being rich instead of talking about like, this kind of ailment. And I kind of felt that way, and I almost feel fortunate in a way that I didn't just like bathe in money, because I feel like in a way it kept me hungry and focused on the right things. And so, with that being said, I was very fortunate in my upcoming to collide with people who wanted to really play the game.
Yeah.
Which gave me a foundational audience.
Mm-hmm.
They helped me and were helpful in kind of curating this initial audience. But from there, I didn't want the messaging to be secondary. I always wanted the messaging and, again, lyrics forward.
Mm-hmm.
I always wanted that to be first and foremost. And so, yeah, I mean, whether that helps anybody or not, I just, don't just earn your money, like know where your money's coming from, because, if you take the wrong money, you might have to quiet down certain elements of yourself, you know what I mean? And, hopefully that's not the case for people who are expressing themselves.
When you first started recording music, were you at home, at someone's home, going to studio?
No, it was home recordings. I mean,
Okay.
because, again, our generation, we had personal computers for the most part.
Yeah.
Or-
Technology was like sweet spot for us.
Totally. No, that doesn't mean it sounded good.
Yeah. No.
But
that's where like the initial thing, I talk to people all the time, and I think I am snobby about music, but I actually listen for intention and emotion.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not listening for like, oh, you got the most premium sonic scape, blah, 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 with the most amazing room and technology. Like, if your feeling's not there, I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
So if you're recording on an iPhone or whatever little tape recorder thing at home, and it's like, oh, if only I had this technology, like, dude, if you're bringing like the soul to it, then like it doesn't fucking matter what it sounds like.
It's not the wand, it's the wizard, bro.
Yeah, exactly.
For sure.
So you start home recording, you make songs and start performing.
Well, again, I didn't come at it as let me sit around a computer and do music production.
Yeah.
That wasn't like my initial bone. My initial bone was like writing raps.
Yeah.
And so I was rapping over other people's beats.
Okay.
And so I was just taking industry beats that I liked and like putting my own spin on it.
Yep.
So what, a lot of us know as mixtapes.
Yep.
And that caught the attention. What I didn't know I was doing, but I guess I did know what I was doing, was the idea of the mixtape and the idea of rapping over a beat that somebody had already heard. Was you've already passed the first level of familiarity.
Yep.
I've heard this before. And so they get to move on to the next step of listening. If you're playing somebody something brand new, there's like this like getting used to adjustment period of like, I've never heard this before. So, that's like, I'll never forget hearing Aaliyah's Try Again for the first time. The first time I heard that song, I was like, I do not like this song. And then you hear it a little bit more. And you're like, and you hear it a little bit more. And then you hear it a little more. You're like, oh, I really like this song. This song's really amazing. I think we have that experience a lot. Sometimes for the worse, where the radio just says, you like this song.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I know that you hate this song,
Yeah.
but you like it now.
And now, like, the Spotify numbers are like, you see that it has 7 billion plays.
You like this
You
song.
like this song.
Yeah, so that's been really, tricky. But yeah, what was the question again?
Like going from
Songwriting?
recording at home
yeah.
and just like the progress, the progress
Familiarity.
from
Right.
Well, really like the progress from, okay, I'm making now mixtapes, so it's cool, that little tidbit about the familiarity and why that all came together. But then what is that? Now I've completed recording these songs. I want to put them out. Is it like the thought of, I need a record label, I need a manager, or I can use the internet? Where am I going on the internet when I put this out initially? Sure. And what happened?
Well, I think again, the time and place in our generation. This is kind of like when social media is first getting introduced. Facebook. I was in a freshman in college or whatever when Facebook got introduced. So this is actually more MySpace, and so as far as tools are concerned. And I still also, and YouTube, I don't think was like this like YouTube University yet. So you couldn't just go on there and learn it for yourself. So there was still an element of other people telling you what you needed to do.
Yeah.
And so there were influences in my life. I had a manager at the time who was friends with my sister from high school, a manager, you know what I mean? But also the managers that I've met in my lifetime are people with their own ambitions.
Yeah.
They're not necessarily that comes in and understands it from, again, a coach or from what I see, a manager should be somebody that comes in and says, what do you want to do?
Yeah.
And look, here are my ambitions. This is what I want to do. So there might be a good partnership here. Like, for instance, like Coach K or whoever it may be is like, I want to win championships. But in order to do that, in order for me to feel genuinely fulfilled, I need you to come out of this a good man and a good person. And so you see that a lot of time with athletic programs is the best coaches also teach these people, knowing that they're not going to have a long career in sports, how to be, responsible, mature adults and operate in a new world. And so the managers that I've had in my life, and it's no fault, this because we're all growing up and we're learning through this, but it was never necessarily of like, Asher, what is it that you want to do and how can I help you do that?
Yeah.
It was always kind of like a little bit of a push and pull of like, of them wanting to they had their own accomplishments and I was just, being used for lack of better words. So with that being said, you are still being told you need to sign a record label. You need to sign a publishing deal. You need to do this. You need to do that. And because, of the timing, you don't have the know-it-all at that point to say, no, I don't. There's these options that are available to us. Again, that's just timing. At that point of 2008, 2007, maybe I did need to sign a record label in order to get my stuff out there. But not long after that was there tools and technologies that allowed you to really grow and go through that incubation process of like learning how to perform, understanding mechanical royalties, understanding streaming and all. Like streaming wasn't a thing when I first got out.
Yeah.
So, again, I don't harbor any hard feelings. It's just that like I learned so much from my own mistakes.
Yeah.
I didn't get to learn from other people's mistakes, which is the best way to learn.
Yeah. I mean, it's a combination of both because you gotta earn your stripes, and it sucks, and you gotta understand and you gotta feel it suck.
Yeah.
Because you gotta know that's not really where you want to be. So it's like, all right, I gotta push through this phase and like get back into the swing and like hopefully feeling great about the decisions. But at that point, like you go mixtape and it's put on MySpace.
Yeah, MySpace. I had written a joint about family, coming from a good family, actually, just like my parents and my sisters and all these influences in my life that were kind of counter to the typical rap story, which is from Broken Homes. And Scooter Braun had heard that stuff, and I don't know if he still does, but he has family tattooed on his wrist, and he heard that, and that's his own story to tell on how that came about. And again, just collided for that whatever reason,
That was like a random connection off a MySpace type.
Off MySpace,
Wow.
man. Just a friend finder. And so when that happened, Scooter and I shared our solar systems, and for quite some time,
Were you still in Philly? Or this is New
So-
York or Atlanta? Where were you at this point?
So I had moved down. I left Westchester University to move down to Atlanta to be closer to what Scooter was doing down there.
Okay, and you were done with school, or you just dropped out? It was
Yeah, I mean,
moving on?
the way I saw it was just like school's always going to be there. This is
Yeah.
this is what I would describe as an opportunity.
Yeah, of course. When you see it working, I feel like you gotta you jump.
But we didn't know. I mean, like, again, Scooter was, just starting out. He had nothing going on, and you're just going off of his his rhetoric and stuff that's gotten him to where he is in life, because when he speaks, he's very charming, and he's very somebody like, I believe what this dude's saying. And so that was enough to get me to go down with my boys. And so, we were what I would describe as extremely successful. We decided, like, I had always been somebody who liked recording in my own space. I didn't like going to big studios, not only just from performance and what you can get when you're just home because of the honesty and like the willingness to fuck up, but saving money.
Yeah.
And so we set up a studio in the basement, which is just like par for the course now. Like, everyone records in their own home, but
Yeah.
set up a studio in the
That
basement.
was like pretty cutting edge though.
Yeah.
In that era.
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, built a wall. Boy, the bud Kurt Sunderland, like, just came down again, just a friend, builds a wall. We build a little studio, go to Goodwill and hang up blankets and do that whole thing. And it was the greenhouse, and that is what started the greenhouse effect. And so, obviously Drama and Canon co-signing that, and just that energy, that newness, that kind of like nonchalance and not really caring, and that their co-sign along with that attitude really sprung what led to an XXL a freshman cover and all these things, and going on tour. But again, all of this happened so fast for me. I didn't have an opportunity to really like, what am I doing here? What do I want out of this?
Yeah.
Like, I was still going off of what other people were telling me to do. But fortunately, what I would say, or unfortunately, how anybody wants to look at it, I was old enough to start asking why. And it just became kind of a drag when I started asking what for and why.
Yeah.
Why are we doing this? Can we do it like this? Maybe we should try something like that. And so, again, this is my side of the story.
Yeah.
Someone might say that's not how it went at all, but again, this is how when I was going through it. And so all of these things are happening so fast, which I was able to get an audience, a core audience, and people were interested in what I was doing, but I still had to develop my own relationship with myself and what I wanted my act to be. Live music was something that's been in my blood forever. I didn't totally enjoy being up on stage. I kind of feel like we were very early on in bringing in the live drummer to go with the DJ. Again, because it added a live element, but it wasn't just rapping over tracks and all of those things. And so, all of those things, just little by little, but still had so much to learn. And again, just about the business of music. And so I hope that people understand, again, from when you're learning from someone else's mistakes, and they're not mistakes, just growth, is that, like, know what you want first and go through it, as much of it by yourself as you can, before you sign a record label or before you sign a publishing deal or anything like this. Ask a lot of questions first and foremost, because to your point about getting up your nut, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Those royalties and all that thing, if you own it and you have that leverage and you're piling it up, the larger it is, you have a little bit more leverage in the situation.
Yeah.
Because I signed a publishing deal so early on.
That was the first step for you, publishing
Yeah,
deal?
it was super early. I mean, this is like, off of I Love College, the success of I Love College. Knowing what I've known now, I would have held that and just said, even you could throw a ridiculous number at me, but owning this and owning this body of work, and taking a little bit. It's like the lottery. You take it all at once, or do you take it a little, like, in fractions?
Yeah.
For who I am, some people might need that money right then and there, so they say, I'm going to take the deal. Let me take the deal. I'll worry about that other stuff. But where I was in my life, I wish I had the coaching and the coach to say, here's the situation. You can do this or you can do this. But the coaching in my life, it was just like, this is what you got to do.
Yeah.
And so, again, I don't feel any type of way about that. It's just that I encourage all these other artists that I work with, again, through Discord and through the Greenhouse Effect Volume 3, was getting these kids privy to publishing.
Yeah.
Like, here's how you register your song.
Yeah.
Music reports, Harry Fox, which I guess is now like MLC. Artists don't even know.
Yeah.
Registering for ASCAP or BMI. They don't even know this stuff. That should be kind of like number one.
Yeah.
Of learning what to do. And so, music business is not a really awesome business.
It's
man.
the worst business.
Not an
It's
awesome
the
business.
Most ugly shithole business historically, even worse, and now just butchered.
But it's getting better. I mean, there are
it-
sort of, I guess. You know,
Yeah, I mean, like there are like
there's transparency.
flowers growing
bit.
from the dead bodies.
Yeah,
and,
like, we know-
there's a chance. But,
We know how much money you make from X amount of streams,
Yeah.
but still, like, that's it.
Yeah.
And that was the thing for me, again, like with kind of what Opulus is doing, or like, you know, starting to sell royalties with cryptocurrency and all these things. Really cool ideas. Because otherwise, if you're not the largest artist on the planet, or if you don't own 100% of your music, I know Russ talks about this stuff all the time, but kind of leaves out a little bit that you need to do the writing and the production and all of this stuff
To own 100%.
To own 100%.
Yeah.
A lot of us rappers specifically, if we're just doing it with a producer, just own half the song, you know, 50%. So otherwise, we're sitting under the leaky pipes of the streaming and just like trying to collect as much change as we can.
Yeah.
Like, that's not healthy, specifically for artists. And so there are amazing conversations happening right now to help level the playing field, because the business for so long has been perpetuated by just taking advantage of artists that don't want to do anything except make their shit.
Yeah.
And so you have somebody that comes in and goes, I'll handle that shit for you. And guess what? Those relationships, the financial literacy, all of that stuff, they gain that understanding.
Yeah.
Now they have the relationships that allow them to make those moves in the future, whereas you were just, you know, somebody that they used to know. You know?
Yeah, for sure. And so for you, it was publishing deal and then record deal?
You know what? That's actually funny. I'm not sure. I would say record deal first. It was just a
Okay.
joint venture with Steve Rifkin. Shout out to Steve. You know, took a shot on me and stuff. But I again, like, what the fuck? Like, the math just doesn't add up to me as far as like we didn't make a bunch of money. I mean, we didn't. It wasn't a $2 million deal. You know what I mean? It was like X amount of dollars to create a Sleep in the Bread Owl. That album went gold. We sold 2 million copies, and I still have never seen an artist royalty. So it's just like, how does this work? How does this work? Like,
The juxtaposition of that is insane.
So that money went somewhere, and maybe that's like, you know, you look at the deal and you go, well, this is why. And, you know, I remember talking to some of my lawyers, and like, again, mentally, I'm totally off that. My career started at Retrohash.
Yeah.
I don't even look at a Sleep in the Bread Island financially, because to me, it's just like, that is fucking messy. My career as an independent artist started with Retrohash, and I consciously planted that flag because of all of that bullshit that I dealt with beforehand. Even Paps and Jazz, bro. We did Paps and Jazz, and we did that on our own. We have those pictures on the wall here at Truth. It was like me, JP, Rich, recording Broom Closet and Barrington and Pico, doing all that shit. And because it was dope, Def Jam and the record labels were like, oh no, we're still down a little bit. And so there's still kind of like bits and pieces of major label industry on Paps and Jazz because the work was good.
Yeah.
But to me, it still was like, you know, only interested in something that they could take advantage of. And so Retrohash was the first moment in my career where it was like, nah, I'm not entertaining this shit. It's like a bad lover.
Yeah.
You love them, you trust, you really like had something good, but like the trust isn't there. Maybe they cheated on you or whatever it is. And at some point, we've all been in those relationships. You gotta take care of yourself and go, you know what, I love you, we had something special, I gotta move on.
Yeah.
And Retrohash 2014 was my moment in saying, I'm hanging out with Bay over here.
Yeah.
And that's been the independent grind for me for the last, 7-8 years. It brought me back to Philadelphia, helping DIY artists and just making a space where, again, kind of like Truth, where you can have your first show at Sunflower. You know what I mean? And try my best to encourage, growth and all of those things and the learning process. Same thing with the Discord, University of College Discord, all of these things that are a place where people can kind of ask questions and mess up. But it all stems from that 2008 to 2013 window was just hectic.
I'm sure. Was it? I mean, I'm sure at the time, aside from the financial side, it had to be pretty incredible to just be like, this song is making an impact on the world.
Yeah.
I'm traveling the world now. I'm meeting all these people that, you know, are now collaborators, friends, and seeing like, holy shit, like it worked. Like I made something and it made a ripple, and like the whole world caught the wave for a second.
Yeah, and I would say I had a moment in that in Austin, Texas, South by Southwest, and I Love College came on, and the place just erupted, and people get on each other's shoulders, and everyone's having the best time of their lives. And my buddy Boyd and a couple other people were with me at that time. The things that, you know, the memories that we have, that is
trumps everything.
That
trumps
is
everything.
it. Like the laughs and all the stories
Yeah.
that we have, that, and I even had a rap about it, the All Add Up joint that came out not too long ago. That was just about like, you know, stacking up the memories is more important than anything else. Mm-hmm. And so
it's the truth. It honestly is the truth. Like the money will come and go and the cycles start to interrupt, but like, that is what I've been honing in on too, is the experiences are really the value.
And being present for them.
Yeah.
Because what I felt like happened, because 2000 to 2008 to 2011 happened so fast that you're not even really there. Right? So you almost forget all of it. And that's funny because of the collaboration stuff. You know, you do these collaborations with this person, and it's like you have access to these things, and you're in these studios with these people that you admire, but they're not your friends, actually. You know what I mean? So it's like, I understand that the picture might look good, and you might have your arm around them, and maybe you do develop some relationships, but there's only been a few constants of people who stayed in my life, and Chuck English is like
the most
only
solid,
one who's like legitimately my friend. You know what I mean? When I get out to LA, I see Chuck. And like, there's not that many other people who I've met in the music industry that are still part of my life, even though I did a song with Lil Wayne and he's on the Party Girl remix, or even Meek. Like, we might be cordial, we might see each other in the hallway and be like, yo, but we're not friends.
Yeah, it's not like calling on Sunday to be like, hey man, how's family? Like,
yes. And so like, I think that those genuine friendships that sometimes, have you ever seen the movie Rookie of the Year? You had to have, where the kid breaks his arm and then he's like the pitcher for the Cubs.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, his success as a Cubs pitcher and the fame like rips him away from his friends.
Yeah.
And at the end of it, he just wants to get back with his friends and go on the boat and like hang out with the shorties.
Yeah.
Like I think there's such truth in that, as far as like, a lot of people are going to go through these experiences. They're going to, you know, chase fame. They're going to get their money. They're going to get their fame. And then at the end of it, when it's all said and done, the chances are they're going to have an experience of just like, I just want to be with some of my close friends. And a lot of the time, it may be your family at that point. Maybe you just want to be with your kids or your siblings. But all that stuff's going to go away.
Yeah.
All the people you're in the studio with that everyone thought you were so cool because you were hanging out with so-and-so, it's going to go away, and you're just going to want to be with your friends and your people.
And doing like, really, it boils back down to like, being an actual artist, if that's your intention, is like, you just continue to create because the drive is in you to create. You know, it's no longer a goal of financials, you know, this is my life, my income, it's just I do this completely free now.
This is what I do.
Yeah. That's, I mean, I'm with you. It's never been about money, which, you know, is one of the reasons I've never had like massive financial success, because I've been around dozens of artists I could have tried to attach to in a way that I could have for sure made a crazy amount of money. But I just love music. As a fan of music, like being able to create and contribute and help is like the more fulfilling side of it for me. And now, you know, obviously getting older, like 32, and like having basically like no savings in like cash, it's like all assets, like speakers and microphones, stuff like that. Crypto became, and with COVID, that was the thing I really dove into. And I started to realize, like, you know, obviously this is like, to me, undeniably the future of where we're going, and where I can find financial stability and remove the need to make money from any other part of my life. So now every action is based on genuinely what I want to do. Every day I communicate with people spend time, schedule whatever with people, it's because that's genuinely what I want to do. And I'm not after, this is a financial gain, this is a specific end. I mean, I busted my ass, and I've spent on top of already spending 8, 10, 12 hours a day in front of a computer for working on music, to then now relearn an entire industry, which is still new, and I still only know fucking 3% of what's even happening. To just be familiar with it as we grow and say, oh man, there is major opportunity within this to just set up financial freedom. And like, the rest is like, great. Now I don't have to worry about that. I can set up my day to be exactly how I want it to be. And there's still life happening where it's like, great, good, okay, not so good, horrible, this is absolutely the worst, because that's life. And I live well within that full
human experience.
And I'm just thankful for it every day.
Yeah, man.
You know,
it's luxury. That's luxury.
It is.
Being able to get up and say, this is what I want to be doing.
Yeah. And it's interesting. You can actually achieve that. I mean, depending on, like, I gave up, like, I don't need a Lamborghini. I don't need like a 7,000, 8,000 square foot house. Like, you can actually achieve that in a much quicker, less intense fashion than you would imagine if you're not like, you know, I need 7 cars and 4 houses, and I need a private jet, and I need Gucci, Dior, blah blah blah, all the time. Like, you can set up a life that's really great.
Absolutely.
You know, and really make those choices, you know.
That's the thing about expectations, and that's the thing about, again, like, image and being told what you want. And that's like kind of stems back to the initial kind of meditation that I hope everybody takes right now, is like, what do you want to do?
Yeah.
Because if you can answer that, then you're going to hopefully find a lot of pleasure in just doing that.
Yeah.
You're going to say, hey, I want to paint. As long as your expectations aren't 7 cars and, you know,
from
3
painting.
homes from painting, then you can find a lot of pleasure in just doing what it is that you want to be doing.
Yeah.
You know, I would say the 7 cars and all that jazz. And, like, you know, again, I do think that that's probably a want for, and a pleasure for a few, like Jay Leno and Jerry Seinfeld and all that stuff. People thoroughly enjoy.
Clearly, a lot of people really enjoy that lifestyle.
You know, but it's one of those things that I think that, like, managing expectations and doing what it is that you actually want to do. You know how people always ask, what do you do? You know, that conversation should always turn to, what do you like doing?
Yeah.
What do you enjoy doing?
Yeah.
Not what do you do? Because so many of us are just, you know, getting by.
Yeah.
So my girlfriend specifically is working a job specifically for health insurance and earn income.
Yeah.
It doesn't define her at all.
Yeah. I have tons of friends in that same boat. And I mean, as somebody who's broken out of that system, I try to help guide, like,
We're the lucky ones, bro.
Just even the idea of, like, you know, it can be different, right? Like, this doesn't have to be it.
Yeah.
Like,
you just don't need all of this.
Yeah. And you can start to learn how to, like, okay, I can maybe work part-time because I can start working part-time on this other thing. A lot of people have a hard time with the accountability of, you know, like, dude, it's tough for me, like, to wake up every day and be like, oh, I'm in charge of my destiny here. Like, if I'm not putting the wheels in gear, the car is not moving. And the longer the car sits still, the harder the car is to get moving again. And, you know, like, that comes with its own challenges, where at times you can look at it and just say, fuck, maybe it just is great to have that kind of stability.
Yeah.
You know, like, that's been since I was a teenager. Like, I worked jobs when I was younger, but I haven't had that stability since, like, 17.
Yeah,
you know?
me either.
And
I know that they try to normalize it with entrepreneurship and just say you got to be okay with, like, being able to not pay the heating bill 1 month or whatever.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily the healthiest thing. Security and stability is, like, you know, kind of the root of it all.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's funny because retirement, talking to some of these guys and gals who retire, and them talking about that's the hardest transition in their life. Because they wake up every day and they have structure and they go to work and they do it, and then they end their day and they go, and it's easy. Then you wake up and you're retired and you're like, what am I supposed to be doing?
Yeah.
And so that transition was really hard for me. You know, I have just enough to not have to go get a job.
Yeah.
And so like I wake up and I make it up every day, and
Yeah.
that's not easy.
Yeah.
But it's something that again, that's important to me. Spontaneity, flexibility. Those things are what I find a luxury, being able to use my time how I want to see it. But a lot of that time early on was doing nothing. It was like, fuck, I don't know. I have nothing to do. And then get to a point of like, well, what do you enjoy doing?
Yeah.
And it's not some instantaneous thing. For me anyway, it wasn't. Maybe people do have it tucked away and go, man, I want to be a freaking astronaut. You know what I mean? And so then they go through whatever it may be. Maybe it's just as simple as getting some simulations in your life, finally figuring out how to simulate the experience of space. But, again, like that took a lot of time for me to sit down, and that came from not having anything, not being told what to do.
Yeah.
So that's a really scary plank to walk.
Yeah.
But I think that's the way. Like, you got to walk the plank.
Yeah.
And
you got to keep checking in with yourself too, make sure that that's like the path you're trying to be on. And I think one of the more challenging things, which is something I've kind of realized, is I may have to pivot a little off this plan I thought I was fully committed to for life.
Huge.
Because, I'm here now and there's new cards on the table.
You going to Australia?
I'm going to be going as soon as I can, hoping maybe mid-February or March. Border situation is
Yeah.
not
that was
exactly,
kind of a joke, but not really a joke.
Yeah. No, that's actually a consideration as a place to move from here. I'm giving myself till 35, so I basically have like less than 3 years left in LA.
You got plenty of time, man. As
like a full-time resident.
Yeah, you're in good shape. Just like, and us having this conversation, our audience is probably a similar age, and so I'm sure a lot of people listening to this conversation think about the same things that we're thinking about.
Yeah.
And so yeah, it really, you can have that conversation with yourself and say, where do I want to be?
Yeah. What part of the world?
And then you move, and then you just kind of slowly go in that direction.
Yeah.
You don't have to quit your job and pack everything up and move the next day.
Yeah.
You just slowly implement. It's the same thing with the changing of behavior.
Yeah.
Consumerism. These are slow, incremental processes. And so that's, I think, very important to remind people, but you got to stick to it.
Yeah, 100%. We'll wrap it up. There's two last things. Is if there's anything you want to specifically highlight attention-wise that's on the horizon, and two, the best way for people to just tune in with you going forward. If that's Instagram or website or
I would say obviously our Discord is where a lot of just the conversation happens. That's the University of College Discord. Just having fun there as far as development and sharing ideas and conversation. The Twitter at Asher Roth is just every now and then when I feel like sharing something I will. The Instagram's at Asher Roth, ASHERROTH as well. Not overly active on that stuff because they're not paying me yet. Maybe when they start paying me in cryptocurrency, maybe I'll get down. And then, I think that I'm really excited for this Gray EP that we're about to get into. And if you haven't checked out Greenhouse Effect Volume 3, that was the collective fan-created album that we made over the pandemic because everybody was trapped at home. And I said, let's kind of incorporate what everyone else is doing. And so if you get a chance to listen to that, it's a story, a kind of cinematic experience of these students that are enrolled at the University of College. And there's a professor of horticulture that teaches these kids how to grow pot. There ends up being magical pot. There ends up being police officers that get involved and try to confiscate it. But it's all about creating the world of abundance. And I think that you and I have touched a little upon those ideals here today.
Yeah, amazing, man. Thank you so much for this.
Nick, you got it, man. Appreciate everything you do.
Let's go make some music.
Cheers.
Podcast EP. Let's go.
Necessary.